Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and participants, we would like to begin by extending a warm welcome to all of you in Universitas Paramadina, Jakarta, Indonesia. This conference has been possible through the generous support and contribution from our co-sponsor, the Republic of Indonesia Defense University, BCA, IDX PT Bursa Efek Indonesia, and PT Mekaya Pharmaceutical. It is truly an honor to host you to this international conference on democracy, prosperity, sustainability, and peace, problems, and prospects. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Penny Hangarini, who will be your master of ceremony for today's opening ceremony. Now, it is my honor to invite the Head of Research and Community Service Directorate Universitas Paramadina, Bapak Dr. Sunaryo. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellencies, Rektor of Universitas Paramadina, Profesor Didik J.Rachbini, and Vice Rectors, Dr. Fahd, Dr. Handi Riza, and Professor Dr.Iin Mayasari. Speakers of the conference, Professor Dr.Iin Mayasari from Universitas Paramadina, Professor Benjamin Gregg from Texas University, Professor Gregg Barton from Deakin University, Prof. Sumanto Qurtuby, Ph.D. from Satya Wacana Christian University, Mayjen Dr. Oktaheroe, Ramsi from Universitas Pertahanan, and other speakers from Northeastern Hill University, India, Professor Susmita Sengupta and Professor Biswas Prasenjit. Special guests from Universitas Pertahanan, welcome. Participants and presenters, thank you very much for your participation in this conference. This conference held on October 1 and 2 and September 17 and 18, 2025 is supported by Bursa Efek Indonesia, Universitas Pertahanan, Bank Sentral Asia, Paramadina Public Policy Institute, and PT Mekaya Pharmaceutical. It's also supported by our journal partners, Jurnal Inquiry, Jurnal Konvergensi, Jurnal Bisnis Madani, Jurnal Peradaban, Jurnal Imaginary, Jurnal Informatika dan Teknologi Cerdas, Jurnal Foreign Policy and Diplomacy, and Jurnal Design Indonesia. This morning, with the excellent speakers, we will discuss the most current and relevant topic for us, namely democracy, prosperity, sustainability, and peace. Today, at the end of the first quarter of the 21st century, we have witnessed and gone through many crucial events. We are seeing the war between Russia and Ukraine and Israel's brutal occupation of the Palestinian people in Gaza. The international community has almost lost the capacity to stop the violation of international law. However, several days ago, we celebrated the international recognition of Palestine as a sovereign state. It's progress, but of course the Palestinian people's struggle for freedom and a dignified life is still a long journey. In the last decade, we have also faced the regression of global democracy and the rise of right-wing populism. In Indonesia, we are trapped in procedural democracy. We lose the meaningful participation by public reasoning, the capacity of good governance, and the relevance of democracy to welfare and prosperity. And in the context of sustainability, we need to develop breakthroughs in clean environments and sustainable energy solutions. The government's visionary and innovative policies play a crucial role in engineering market and consumer behavior to promote sustainability. Our best minds must address all of these problems. As academic members, we are responsible for giving solutions and way out formulas. All sessions today and tomorrow are designed to address this issue. Then enjoy the discussion and engage in it. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Next, we will hear remarks from Director of Universitas Paramadina, Jakarta, Bapak Profesor Dr. Didik Rahbini. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ya. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Ya. Bapak Ibu sekalian, ya, Excellencies, ya, distinguished guests, ya, scholars, ladies and gentlemen. Ya. This morning, ya, it is both honor for us and privilege for Paramadina to welcome you all, ya, to this conference, ya, International Conference on Democracy, Prosperity, and Sustainable Development in Indonesia. Ya. Allow me to extend my warmest greeting to our distinguished speakers. Ya. All here, Pak Heru, ya, Pak Gregg Barton, Pak Benjamin, Gregg, Pak Sumanto, and Prof.Iin, ya, and all speakers after this session. Ya. Allow me to also extend to all participants. This is very full because eager, ya. Tepuk tangan untuk semuanya. Ya. And we have to add some chairs because of they want to hear all of you speakers, yeah, and colleges and colleagues from the across countries, yeah. And I would like to also express deep appreciation for Pak Sunaryo, organizer, yeah, and then partner institution, sponsor, yeah. Pak Smith, ya, Pak Capi, if we have event like this, we have to raise fund, ya, because we need to make our cost efficient, ya. Thank you, Pak Sunaryo and team, and also here special guest Pak Smith, ya, my mentor. Welcome to Paramadina, ya, Pak Capi and others, ya, that I cannot mention one by one, yeah. Especially this morning, we will have a great session, yeah, from prominent speaker, yeah. Pak Gregg Barton from Deakin, yeah, will discuss about the challenge for Indonesian democracy. Thank you, Pak Gregg, yeah. And then Pak Benjamin Gregg to discuss about sustainability. Mayjen Heru, ya, Pak Heru. Terima kasih Pak Heru datang, ya. Pak Sumanto datang, ya, ada sudah datang. Oh, Pak Sumanto, thank you from Fahd University. And then our professor, ya, Prof. Mayasari. Are you here already? Oh, in the back there, ya. Our professor in marketing and management, sustainable management. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, ya, we are living now in the era of rapid transformation and very uncertainty situation, ya. Around the world, yeah, democracy is being tested by populism, disinformation, buzzer, yeah, inequality, and also tension among the countries. Yeah. At the same time, yeah, humanity faces urgent global challenges: climate change, poverty, and social exclusion, and environmental degradation. This is our topic. Yeah. Indonesia, as the world's third largest democracy and home for the largest Muslim population, Indonesia has demonstrated how democracy and pluralism and development coexist. Yeah? And since our reform in 1998, yeah, more than 2 decades ago, Indonesia has embraced democracy transition marked by peaceful election, yeah, vibrant civil society, and decentralization that empower region and community. But now we have challenges about democracy. Yeah? These 2 or 3 years we discussed about decreasing democracy, yeah? And then the formal democracy only, yeah? Without substance and so on. Yeah? Also, we disconnect with the sustainable development, another dimension of discussion. Yeah? The essence of sustainable is about justice, yeah? Across generation, across region, across social group. Yeah? We have problem here. In Jakarta, income per capita is about $35,000 per capita, while the average in Indonesia only 4,000 or 5,000 per capita. If you go to the central Jakarta, the income per capita is about almost $70,000. So the gap is also our challenge in Indonesia now. Yeah. However, Indonesia has made important progress, yeah, pursuing sustainable development, reducing poverty. Yeah. During Suharto era, 80% of our population very poor, but now remains 9%, 10%, and so on. That's also part of our result in development and democracy. Yeah. I think the whole discussion will be presented by the speaker. Yeah. This is all prominent speaker, Ibu Iin, ya, Pak Mayjen Heru, ya, Prof. Gregg Barton, ya, Pak Benjamin Gregg, thank you, ya, and Pak Sumanto. They will give you special issues on democracy and sustainable development. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm honored to open this international conference. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To let this through, I am pleased to invite our moderator, M.Sc from Paramadina. Please welcome. M.Sc is the research fellow at the Universitas Paramadina.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Penny. Bu Penny is my mentor, my lecturer when I was in bachelor. So, okay, right. So, good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Right now, today, I'm a bit nervous because there are a lot of people here, and I'm so happy and glad to see the new faces, not just the academician, but also like my mentor, everyone, and like all of students from 2 universities, Unhan and also Universitas Paramadina. So welcome to our campus in Cipayung. This is like our central campus in Jakarta. So today I'm going to invite all the speakers, which is the first one. Please let me invite Professor Dr.Iin Mayasari from Universitas Paramadina. Okay, thank you. Please be seated. Yeah. So Professor Iin will address sustainable consumption and its future in Indonesia. In an era where consumerism is often linked to environmental degradation, I believe this topic highlights how responsible consumption patterns can contribute to not only the ecological, but also to balance long-term economic resilience. And then the next one, I'm going to invite Mayor Jenderal TNI, Dr. Oktaheroe Ramsi from Republic of Indonesia Defense University. Please be seated. Prof. Dr. Ramsi will speak on the role of Indonesia in international peace and security. Indonesia has long been recognized as a bridge builder in regional and global affairs, I believe, so this is very essential to know his perspective in this one. The next one, I would like to invite Professor Gregg Barton from Deakin University. Please be seated, Professor. He will share to us about the challenge of Indonesian democracy and at a time when democratic institutions, of course, face global pressures, right? So I believe his analysis will help us to think critically about this resilience. The next one, I would like to invite Professor Sumanto Qurtuby of Satya Wacana Christian University. Please be seated, Professor. So Professor Sumanto will talk about religion, democracy, and peace in Indonesia. Religion is deeply woven to Indonesia's social fabric, so his reflections will help us understand how interfaith harmony and inclusive values. Right away, I want to let Professor Iin to begin speaking and share the knowledge to us. Please, Bu Iin.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to the esteemed participants of International Conference on Democracy, Prosperity, Sustainability, and Peace Problems and Prospects. And then please allow me to express my sincere thanks to Professor Didik J.Rachbini and the committee for the generous introduction and invitation to speak today. And then Your Excellency, all speakers, thank you for sharing in Paramadina. Mayor Jenderal TNI Dr. Oktaheroe Ramsi, thank you for, we had nice discussion this morning. Professor Gregg Barton, yeah. And then Professor Benjamin Gregg, he will deliver a speech later. And then Professor Sumanto Qurtuby. Thank you for sharing in Paramadina. And then I extend my sincere gratitude to all participants, including lecturers, and then also students, and then also partners here. I would like to address the issue of sustainable consumption as the main idea of this presentation. All concepts will be related to marketing and consumer behavior because my background, all of them. Discussing the concept of sustainable consumption means that we discuss about our daily activity as consumer behavior. And then sustainable consumption is one of the form of socially responsible consumer. This concept initially was explained through sociological approach. Later, Prof. Sumanto will also discuss concerning this concept. When we talk about sociological approach, it means that there is also social consciousness. And then this concept also refers to the individual's desire to help others without expecting the others to give in return. And then when we talk about sustainable consumption means that when people decide to do something, they also consider the consequence of public concerning their behavior, whether it has negative or positive impact towards society. And then here, sustainable consumption is also having multiple parties that influence a person's decision-making process. When, for example, people are deciding to decide something, they have to consider all ethical consequences that can be positive or negative. And in ordinary life, when we talk about sustainable consumption, it has so many similar concepts in consumer behavior. Some of you, maybe you have already joined in my class concerning consumer behavior. Usually when we call sustainable consumption, it can be also related to socially conscious consumer, and then also ethical consumer, and then also an ecologically conscious consumer, environmental activist, green consumer, and then also sustainable consumer. And the last one is responsible sustainable consumer behavior. Panli et al. Exactly also defined that sustainable consumption is a form of socially responsible consumer. And it is also related to the social consciousness, and which individual can influence society through responsible choices. And then also here, when we talk about sustainable consumption, it will be related to environmental focus, which consumers have tried to minimize the negative impacts towards society. And then here, Gregg has also defined concerning green consumption, starting from the most dominant for pro-environment, and then the list concerning non-environmentalists. So this is ranging from people who have very enthusiasm for undertaking sustainable activities until the one who is the least to undertake sustainable activities. The basis of sustainable consumption is about ethics. Ethics will be related to the moral. The morality here also related to the norm, value, and then also belief that inherent in social processes that can define whether this is right or wrong of someone's choice. Here on the slide, I have already made a mapping concerning the definitions of sustainable consumption. What I have already gathered the data exactly starting from 1992 until 2020, I have already found that there are some themes of the definition of sustainable consumption. There are quality of life and standard of living, and then also global motivation, and then also innovation focus, and then also quality life and cultural dimension. So what I have already mentioned before, exactly that there are elements of sustainable consumption. Okay, nowadays when we talk about sustainable consumption, it is not only related to consumers' behavior that has impact on environment, but we also talk about organic food, and then also sustainable luxury, and then also online social networking, ethical investment, ethical tourism, and then hybrid vehicle, biodiversity protection, and then also climate change. And the last one is the sharing platform, what we have already known like Airbnb. It is also a part of sustainable consumption. When we buy a product, we just take the benefit, not the identity of possessing the product. And then also here, frugal and ecological consumption. It is also the form of sustainable consumption. It means that when people decide to buy a product, it is based on the necessity. It is based on the rationality. It is based on minimal. So you don't have to buy the product without thinking what others people will say about me if I do not buy a certain brand. So you just buy the product for the sake of the benefit. For ethical approach here, behavior of someone will be influenced by two main factors. Firstly is personal, and then secondly is external. For example, for the external factor, our behavior will be influenced by our culture, our law, and then our industrial or professional norms. And then while from internal values, our behavior will be influenced by, for example, our perception, and then our character, our ethical sensitivity, and then our thought, our attitude will be influencing our behavior. Okay, here, this is the last concept that I would like to address for sustainable consumption. We believe that to create sustainable consumption cannot be focused or cannot be addressed from one perspective. It should be eclectic. It should be holistic. So I take the perspective from Panli et al. When we talk about macro dimension, exactly that this is the role of government. Our government has already formulated a number of policies that supporting the sustainable consumption. Here there are some policies and programs. For example, Indonesia has already formulated S.IP framework. S.IP stands for Sustainable Consumption and Production. So this can be the guideline for the industrial players to formulate any business strategy. Yeah, these are the macro dimensions that the government has already formulated some supporting system to create sustainable consumption behavior of the society. Low-cost green car. This is the policy of the government to support low-cost green cars. Yeah, and then also for the tourism, the government has also formulated the strategy to support the sustainability in tourism. It is called as the Indonesia Sustainable Tourism Awards. Other thematics that because I'm mom gitu, and then I have had a baby at that time concerning disposable diapers. Do you know disposable diapers? Exactly that based on the data, disposable diapers exactly this is one of the factors that has contributed to the solid waste generation. in Indonesia, and then this issue is very important to being raised in the discussion. Yeah, we saw exactly that this is the position between macro dimension and then a macro and then micro dimension. So there is also the role of community. There is also the role of society that can also build social capital, trust, network, norm, and share value. So far, what I have already known that many topics in marketing, it is only just marketing programs, but maybe this topic can be the good topic for you to know deeper concerning this concept. There are so many factors, there are so many theories that you can use to analyze this concept. For example, when we talk about internal factors in consumer behavior, you have already studied concerning motivation, perception, attitude, and then also lifestyle, personality, and then also what else, psychographic. So these factors can be used to analyze further concerning sustainable consumption. While for the other side, the external one, you can also analyze concerning reference groups, social media marketing, and then also any regulation for from the company or from the government. So this can be analyzed further for your research. The role of the government is exactly that I'm very sure that most of you have already known sustainability development goal. One of the goals that promoting sustainable consumption is goal 12. Exactly that this is the goal that promotes responsible consumption and production and encourage sustainable procurement. Yeah, hopefully that this is the ultimate goal to create a balance between economic, environmental, and social dimension in order to protect our earth and ensure prosperity for all. This is the last thing that I would like to discuss. Again, thank you very much for listening a very short of my presentation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Iin. So there are several things that I can highlight, but most of three that I highlight is like three model. Like the first one, micro dimension, meso dimension, and macro dimension. Right, then again, the next one we will invite Mayjen TNI Professor Dr. Oktaheroe Ramsi from Republic of Indonesia Defense University.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today opportunity, I would like to talk about defense diplomacy influx, Indonesia and Australia, strategic relation in Indo-Pacific. So, from a table of contents, there are 6 discussion that I would like to propose. First, related to backgrounds, and second, analytical framework. The third, analysis, and then implication to Indonesia, policy recommendation and conclusions. As we know that Australia foreign and defense policy has undergone a strategic shift from liberal engagement, this is my perspective, to a neo-realist posture, marked by deeper alignment with the United States and formation of AUKUS. So this is a very interesting topic that maybe we can discuss after my presentation. Then this transformation raised concerns of Indonesia as its closest neighbor and strategic partner, particularly regarding regional stability, nuclear proliferation, and the erosion of trust, of course, because since we know we have a free zone of nuclear, and we also signed the non-nuclear proliferation with other countries in Southeast Asia and Australia. But then suddenly Australia embraced United States and UK for even just for electric powers. It's not really for nuclear weapons. Then while Australia adopted powers for balancing approach, then Indonesia tried to reverse diplomacy and more multilateralisms, creating a conceptual divergence that demand careful management of bilateral security relations in the evolving Indo-Pacific landscape. After that, Australia became strategic ally for United States and UK, and marked by deeper alignment with the US through AUKUS. And then from the defense investment include nuclear power submarine, such as long-range strike missile, we call it. Now we try to discuss a little bit about analytical framework, because as we know, neoliberalism stated act in a hierarchic system, then prioritizing survival through power and alliances determined by structure of international system. And then talking about constructivism, when we try to construct from many perspectives, then with something new from the state behavior, then we understand that how we can shape by norms, identity, and historical experience is going to be construct another buildings that may be easily to understand or maybe hardly understand with the other countries. Now we talk about strategic balancing against China. AUKUS reflects a neorealist response of shifting power dynamic, where Western states from a coalition to counterbalance China growing influence. That is what we have. The reality happens from relation of Australia and Indonesia, and relation from Indonesia and Southeast Asia as leaders, informal leaders, and then the relation between Southeast Asia and ASEAN with Australia. Related to the states must rely on alliance to safeguard national interests. AUKUS is viewed as a rational strategy, since we think the states, the world, it's anarchic systems. Then we try to enhance strategy of military capabilities and ensure survivals by underscoring the primacy of security over normative considerations in Indo-Pacific geopolitics. So now we conclude we have a small conclusion related to neorealisms and an alliance form to balance power and enhance deterrence. So what is the constructivism after that? Our point of view reflects shared democratic values and collectively identity among Western states. Then it is also emphasized how norms, values, principles, and ideologies shape alliances and influence regional cooperations. Then after that, we have a normative influence on regional behavior. The alliance may shape regional norms by promoting cooperations among like-minded states and reinforcing narratives centered on democratic principle, common security. The case of Indonesia and Australia initiative really about. First, for example, we are talking about along Ausindo, and we're talking about Garuda Kokabura, and the others maybe we can talk about Keris Wumera. there is kind of joint exercise or joint training between Indonesia and Australia. And we also have the other multiple joint exercise and training when it's also involved many countries, like Super Garuda SEALs that we conduct in Indonesia for about maybe it's already 4 or 5 times since it's began with. As we can see, Penny Wong, Mr. Ministers, Defense Minister Safri Samsudin, Albanese, and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sugiono, and Richard Malley. Safri Samsudin and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sugiono met with Australia Prime Ministers, Excellency Anthony Albanese, Penny Wong, and Richard Malley. And if I'm not mistaken, it's already changing for Ministry of Defense. Now Ministry of Defense of Australia, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Gregg. So we have 2 implications to Indonesia because of our relationship between Indonesia and Australia. First, related to the evolving or development of Australia with the AUKUS, then we have China factor in Australia foreign and defense policy. Australia foreign and defense policy is shifting toward deeper alignment with the United States, and Indonesia need to introduce more diplomacy, defense diplomacy intention with Australia. That is the presentation from me, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Say hi to our next speaker from the online, Professor Benjamin Gregg.
My topic is Indonesia, and specifically the relationship in Indonesia between democracy and sustainability. Indonesia's ecological diversity is severely endangered by human activities, by deforestation, by illegal logging and wildlife poaching, by climate change, and by marine degradation. Consider the possibility that democracy and sustainability are not only interdependent, but that they rely on what I will call threshold capacity for political participation. The 2015 peatland fire cost $16 billion in damages. Indonesia in 2015 released more carbon than Germany in an entire year, and blanketed Southeast Asia in toxic haze. Threshold capacities are the minimum conditions required for meaningful political participation of citizens. The minimum civic, social, and material conditions. Third, with regard to material security, families struggling with food insecurity in Papua, in Western New Guinea, for example, or in the Maluku archipelago, have little time or energy to attend public consultations. Still, in some cases, through alliances with NGOs and with international pressure, villages have won recognition of customary forests. Indonesia's challenge is also Indonesia's opportunity to build a democracy capable of sustaining the environment and at the same time to build an environment capable of sustaining democracy. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Gregg. There are several things that I can highlight from your presentation. The first one is there are many challenges that Indonesians face today, including money politics and the gap between institution and citizens' ability to shape decisions that affect their lives. And what is the most, the main point of your presentation is basically democracy capable of sustaining environment and vice versa, environment capable of sustaining democracy. Our next speaker is Professor Gregg Barton, please.
Selamat pagi, selamat siang sekarang ya, selamat sejahtera. So suddenly he stepped aside. The night before he told Pak Habibie, besok saya akan lengser. Well, of course the message was that tomorrow we're both going to step down, but Pak Habibie didn't get the message. I mean, out of sincerity, he said my role is to be a interim president, and he carried through the most courageous program of reforms, of legislative reforms, freeing political prisoners. He set things up for elections in July of 1999. And then people said, well, okay, this is really promising, but the problem for Indonesia is the middle class is so small that, of course, the civil society that goes with the middle class will be too small to support a transition to democracy. So we know that there are challenges both to political rights and civil liberties, but Indonesia sits in a middle position. It is a democracy. It's not perfect. Next. I think the important thing is to see the historical context and the continued progress. Indonesia, as they often say, is a case of 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, right? But the main thing, if you go 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, you keep going forwards, and that's the case with Indonesia. Next. The Global Peace Index is a really surprising measure because it says that in terms of everyday peace, Indonesia is as safe and as peaceful. For an individual to go out, it's not to say there's no crime. Women do face a threat of assault. That's true most of the planet. But globally, Indonesia is in a position that's comparable with Australia, comparable with Western Europe. That's really a great outcome just for everyday life. Next. We have seen remarkable transformation when it comes to rule of law. It's imperfect, we know that. Indonesia very likely may not have come through to the present as a democracy. If things had gone differently when Hato spoke to Pak Habibie, we could easily have had a military-backed government that may have had good intentions but would have struggled with democracy. That's not the case. And the reforms that were put in place after Suharto stepped down, but also even before, have given us a basis for having, as every nation has, a military and a police that have important roles to do, but contribute to democracy, don't undermine it. Next. So this is really tragic. I don't think anyone can take any gladness in what's happening next. But the world has changed, and it will impact on us. Next. There's an attempt to blame it on the radical left. The evidence doesn't back this. It's not, the violence is not coming from the radical left. Next. Next. But basic security services like counter-terrorism forces being undermined by this political framing. Next. Next. And for one of the factors that's going on which we don't understand is an alignment with the Kremlin. Next. I'll leave it here, but there's more to be said, so I'm happy to share the slides. You might say, well, that's another country, it doesn't affect us. But America is so big and so important, and it sort of sets the global climate politically that it's challenging for us here in Indonesia, but it also gives us opportunities. It's a chance for Asia, Southeast Asia, Indonesia to pivot and to focus on building regional alliances, as we heard about earlier. The alliance with Australia, I'm very glad to see that cooperation defence is really constructive, because it is very sad that this American leadership is over, but it is over. And so that leaves us in a strange new world. We have to contend with the challenges we face. It doesn't automatically directly challenge Indonesian democracy, but it is part of the challenges we're facing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gregg Barton. Several points that I can highlight from the presentations, mainly about the rule of law, the police, the military and power play a significant role in the democracy itself, and the transition of democracy by every leadership bring different influence to our country, Indonesia. So last but not least, Professor Sumanto, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Semangat pagi. Pada ngantuk semua itu yang sebelah sana itu. Bapak Ibu sekalian, mohon maaf, saya sudah 20 tahun lebih di luar negeri, agak bosan ngomong bahasa Inggris, saya mau ngomong bahasa Indonesia saja. Saya biasanya ngomong sendirian, tapi ini ngomong 5 orang, jadi agak bingung mengemas sekian banyak menjadi satu. Oke. Panitia meminta saya bicara tentang religion, demokrasi, and peace. Kira-kira bagaimana hubungan agama dengan demokrasi dan perdamaian. Topik yang sangat menarik. Karena itu saya waktu tadi malam saya berpikir untuk memulai slide ini dengan menggunakan membahas sedikit tentang teori sekularisasi. Berikutnya Mas. Ini waktunya dikejar-kejar. Oke, saya mulai dengan mungkin bagi Anda sudah familiar tentang ini. Ini kira-kira siapa ini yang populer di sini? Di sini ada pernah beberapa 1 abad yang lalu lebih, ada yang namanya Nietzsche. Dia sudah sangat populer sekali berbicara tentang meramalkan tentang kematian. Itu adalah tanda-tanda dari sekian banyak proses sekularisasi yang ada di dunia barat. Jadi Nietzsche pernah meramalkan itu, dan banyak sekali ini kita lihat di slide, banyak sekali tentang buku-buku yang kemudian mengeksplorasi tentang kematian Tuhan. Tapi yang dimaksud kematian Tuhan itu bukan Tuhan telah mati, tapi maksudnya spiritualitas telah mati, agama mati, belief system mati. Jadi semua yang berkaitan dengan dunia spiritual mati. Karena apa mati? Karena adanya proses modernisasi, adanya proses sekularisasi yang begitu kuat, sehingga mereka banyak yang meramalkan agama, belief system. Yang namanya agama di sini bukan cuma word religion, tapi juga local belief akan diramalkan mati. Mati dalam pengertian 3 hal. Jadi yang mengalami privatisasi itu bukan cuma bisnis, bukan cuma kampus, dunia akademik, tapi agama juga mengalami privatisasi. Jadi tidak lagi menjadi bagian penting dalam dunia publik, mengalami privatisasi. Yang kedua adalah marginalization of religion. Agama kemudian menjadi marginal. Maksudnya apa? Dulu sebelum ada era sekularisasi itu, agama memiliki peran penting di dunia politik. Mengontrol berbagai macam kebijakan politik. Sangat-sangat sentral sekali. Tapi kemudian mengalami marginalisasi. The retreat of religion from public sphere. Agama mundur, tidak lagi menjadi bagian penting dalam dunia publik, dunia politik. Pak Peter Berger, beliau adalah sosiolog terkemuka, sosiolog agama terkemuka. Saya pernah dengan beliau di Boston University, belajar dengan Pak Peter Berger. Termasuk gengnya tentang classical social secularization theories adalah Pak Peter Berger. Termasuk yang meramalkan tentang the marginalization of religion, privatization of religion, and the decline of religion. Nah, di sini teorinya. Jadi economic modernization itu menyebabkan kurang lebih agama mengalami kehancuran. Kemudian political modernization kemudian menyebabkan agama mengalami retreat, tidak lagi dianggap penting dalam dunia publik. Ini tesis-tesis yang seperti ini. Pada awalnya sebetulnya di dunia barat, di Amerika khususnya, tetapi kemudian teori sekularisasi ini dipakai di dunia non-barat, diterapkan di dunia-dunia non-barat. Nah makanya termasuk dunia non-barat tentu saja adalah di kawasan dunia Islam. Jadi dengan kata lain, Lerner mengatakan Timur Tengah nanti akan mengalami modern secara signifikan, agama tidak lagi penting dalam dunia publik. Jadi itu mekanisasi adalah simbol dari spiritualitas agama versus sekularisasi atau versus modernisme, versus modernisasi. Di Timur Tengah akan menjadi modern, agama tidak lagi penting. Apakah itu terbukti? Sebagian terbukti, sebagian tidak. Di Arab Saudi misalnya, saya 10 tahun ngajar di Arab Saudi, saya mengalami proses perubahan yang signifikan di Arab Saudi. Dulu pernah mengalami konservatif, sekarang menjadi sekuler lagi. Dan itu akan comeback seperti ini. Comeback tahu ya, bolak-balik seperti itu. Jadi itu akan terus terjadi setiap waktu itu begitu. Religion kadang naik, kadang menjadi kuat, tapi sekularisme kadang turun, begitu seterusnya. Mendapat pengaruh kuat di sini adalah teori-teori tentang peace building atau pembangunan perdamaian. Salah satu yang paling kuat adalah disebut dengan liberal peace building framework atau liberal peace building approach, pendekatan pembangunan perdamaian liberal. Nah ini begitu mendominasi di berbagai macam profesi, think tank, policy makers, government official, mereka banyak dipengaruhi oleh liberal peace building framework yang banyak sekali menulis beberapa tahun lalu, tapi salah satu tesis yang sangat penting dari liberal peace building framework ini adalah tidak diakuinya religi sebagai bagian penting untuk menyelesaikan proses perdamaian. Dan itu menjadi salah satu kunci dari mereka tidak menganggap itu sesuatu yang penting yang berkontribusi di masyarakat. Karena menganggap religion telah hancur, enggak dominan apa dan seterusnya. Apakah tesis-tesis sekularisasi itu terbukti? Sebagian ya, sebagian tidak. Agama bukan hancur. Agama mengalami proses kemajuan yang luar biasa di berbagai macam tempat. Misalnya memang ada di berbagai macam negara yang agama tidak mengalami perkembangan signifikan. Misalnya sejumlah negara Eropa, agama-agama mengalami penurunan yang sangat signifikan. Kemudian Kanada mungkin, kemudian New Zealand mungkin, dan seterusnya. Tetapi di kawasan lain agama mengalami booming yang disebut dengan public religion atau resurgent religion. Nah, ini salah satu buku yang kemudian membahas tentang untuk teorisasi in the modern world yang pada awal 1990-an sudah menulis ini. Kemudian Pak Peter Berger sendiri di akhirnya beliau tobat, kira-kira begitu, tidak lagi mengakui teori yang dia buat sendiri pada tahun 1960-an. Akhirnya beliau mengoreksi sendiri, kemudian menerbitkan buku ini pada tahun 1999. Desekularisasi of the world, itulah kritik diri sendiri Pak Peter Berger terhadap teori-teori yang beliau kemukakan pada tahun 1960-an. Ini juga salah satu, ini guru saya yang lain, Pak Robert Hefner. Beliau adalah pembimbing di saya. Pak Barton mungkin sudah familiar karena teman beliau juga. Ini waktu saya studi di Boston University dibimbing oleh beliau. Nah, salah satu yang melakukan kritik terhadap sekularisasi teori dan kemudian mengemukakan pentingnya tentang public religion atau resurgent religion. Karena banyak negara di Asia Tenggara agama tidak mengalami penurunan, tapi justru mengalami kebangkitan yang signifikan. Di sekian Asia Tenggara itu hanya Vietnam yang kurang begitu penting agama, tapi Vietnam pun folk religion itu berkembang dengan pesat, Pak. Jadi Singapura mungkin kita beranggapan Singapura negara sekuler, tidak. Konfusianisme itu sangat berpengaruh sekali di Singapura, sangat berpengaruh sekali. Jadi Asia Tenggara itu adalah salah satu kawasan di mana agama menjadi faktor yang sangat penting dan menjadi critical test terhadap teori-teori sosial, teori-teori secularization, classical secularization teoris. Kalau bicara Indonesia tentang agama itu dari zaman dulu sampai sekarang agama tidak pernah dianggap tidak penting dalam konteks Indonesia. Itu bukan hanya fenomena sekarang saja. Public religion itu sudah terjadi. Kita misalnya zaman Hindu-Buddha, agama sudah penting, Pak. Sejak zaman Hindu-Buddha, orang sudah menganggap penting agama itu menjadi bagian integral dari public sphere. Nah, sampai sekarang dalam sejarah Indonesia, agama itu selalu menjadi kontes ya. Berbagai macam kelompok mereka menggunakan agama. Jadi religion itu menjadi arena of contestation, arena of contest. Oleh siapa? Oleh berbagai macam kelompok agama. Saya tulis di sini, kelompok tradisionalis, modernis, konservatif, Islamis, khilafais itu pendukung khilafah. Saya sebut khilafais, istilah saya sendiri, nggak suka ya silahkan, nggak suka silahkan. Kemudian ada Wahabis, kemudian progresif, liberal, post liberal, abangan, semuanya pakai agama. Bedanya agama macam apa yang mereka gunakan. Itu aja. Orang liberal itu, kelompok liberal itu pakai agama, Pak. Progresif pakai agama. Kelompok moderat pakai agama. Cak Nur pendiri ini pakai agama. Menggunakan agama terus-menerus digunakan sebagai bagian untuk melakukan kritik terhadap kelompok-kelompok yang lain. Political Islam dan seterusnya. Tapi tetap menggunakan agama. Jadi baik liberal, post-liberal, kelompok apa saja itu pasti menggunakan agama dalam konteks Indonesia. Jadi dalam konteks Indonesia itu Pak, agama itu adalah bisnis yang menggiurkan. Tempting bisnis. Siapapun pakai agama untuk keperluan mereka sendiri-sendiri. Parpol, pakai agama semua. Parpol mana yang tidak pakai agama? Parpol pasti kalau kampanye pakai agama. Dulu pada zaman Orde Baru, semua itu pakai agama. P3 kalau pidato kemana-mana itu kiai-kiainya. Toblos P3, gambarnya Ka'bah, toblos P3 masuk surga. Itu kampanye. P3 dulu kalau kampanye pakai itu, pakai agama, kan? Golkar pakai agama Pak. Di Quran ada teks sajaroh, artinya pohon. Diartikan sendiri oleh Golkar, pohon beringin itu maksudnya. Jadi kan Jadi manipulasi, jadi ini bukan beringin. Orang nyoblos Golkar berarti akan masuk surga. Karena di situ berarti nyoblos Al-Quran. Lah PDI pakai apa? PDI pakai Al-Baqarah Pak. Itu kepala sapi itu diplesetkan jadi kepala banteng. Itu kiai-kiainya dulu sering mengutip surat Al-Baqarah. Kalau kampanye di mana-mana itu kiai-kiai yang pro terhadap PDI itu. Jadi semuanya mau sekuler kayak, mau liberal kayak, mau progresif kayak, mau apa saja pasti menggunakan agama. Agama itu adalah arena bisnis yang menggiurkan dalam politik, ekonomi, pendidikan, musik, fashion, apapun itu. Jangan dikira loh, yang bikin perumahan-perumahan syariat itu, yang bikin itu mereka penganut syariat. Nggak mesti itu yang bikin orang sekuler, orang apa, punya duit. Yang penting cuan mas, cuan bikin perumahan-perumahan syariat, bikin apa-apa yang bikin syariat itu. Nggak mesti dia itu mengikuti syariat. Yang bisnismen gunakan untuk bisnis, yang politician menggunakan untuk politik, gitu kan? Yang ahli musik, penyuka musik, seniman-seniman juga menggunakan itu untuk kepentingan seni. Menggunakan hadroh apa dan seterusnya. Itu menggunakan idiom-idiom agama yang dipakai untuk membisniskan dalam musik itu. Semua itu beragama, Pak. Yang beragama di Indonesia itu bukan cuma manusia. Anjing itu dianggap beragama Kristen. Kucing dianggap beragama Islam. Itu kalau di Indonesia itu. Jadi yang beragama bukan hanya manusia. Di Ambon itu pohon itu beragama Pak Subgi. Enggak? Ambon itu beragama. Dulu waktu konflik, pohon gandaria itu dibabatin semua itu. Karena pohon gandaria dianggap pohonnya Kristen. Indonesia korma dianggap pohon Islam. Itu kan di Indonesia. Korma itu di Yahudi ada, di Israel ada, di Amerika ada, di Iran ada. Kalau di Iran terus kormanya Syiah. Tumbuh di Iran. Kacau ini orang Indonesia itu. Binatang itu beragama. Onta itu dianggap Islam kalau di Indonesia. Onta loh, itu dianggap Islam. Padahal onta tahu bahasa Arab tidak, menjalankan syariat tidak, tapi dianggap hewan Islam. Jadi ada banyak yang sebetulnya sesuatu yang sifatnya cultural biasa di Arab Saudi, kalau sampai di Indonesia menjadi sangat religius. Ada loss in translation kurang lebihnya gitu. Jadi buat orang Indonesia itu semuanya beragama. Agama dipakai sebagai sumber pembangunan perdamaian, peace building. Tapi agama juga dipakai untuk sumber violent building, pembangunan kekerasan. Baik yang pro perdamaian maupun yang pro kekerasan sama-sama menggunakan agama. Di Ambon waktu pecah perang itu sama-sama pakai agama. Yang kelompok Kristen pro perang itu mengutip kitab-kitab yang pro perang, yang pro perdamaian ngutip-ngutip pro perdamaian. Zaman perang dulu banyak orang Kristen yang tidak mengidolakan Yesus. Karena kalau pakai Yesus, ini jadi nggak perang-perang nih. Yesus kan tampar pipi kanan, kasihkan pipi kiri, nggak jadi perang nih. Maka yang dipakai kitab-kitab perjanjian lama Pak, yang dipakai untuk mendukung semangat jihadisme dalam kekristenan waktu itu. Dan agama sampai kapanpun akan menjadi bagian yang sangat penting. Kenapa kira-kira begitu? Agama bisa ke kanan, bisa ke kiri. Sumber kebaikan, bisa sumber keburukan. Kira-kira kenapa? Karena teks itu fleksibel. Teks itu tidak punya tulang. Jadi bisa dibelok-belokkan ke kanan dan ke kiri. Terserah kita mau pakai untuk kepentingan apa. Kedua, Tuhan itu tidak pernah protes. Mau diakali seperti apapun, Tuhan tidak akan protes. Jadi mau diapain aja itu terserah. Contoh ya, kalau kenapa ayat itu bisa dibolak-balikkan. Dulu waktu di pesantren itu, santrinya itu sering kehilangan ayam. Ayamnya sering hilang. Ternyata setelah ketahuan, Pak Kiainya yang nyolong ayam itu. Pak Kiainya protes, Pak Kiai, kamu nyolong ayam-ayam saya. Kata Pak Kiai, itu bukan ayam kamu, itu ayamnya Tuhan. Walillahi ma bis samawati wal ardh. Apa yang ada di bumi dan di langit itu milik Tuhan, bukan milik kamu, milik Tuhan. Terus besoknya santrinya dendam. Kambingnya Kiai yang dicuri oleh santri. Setelah itu apa? Dibalik lagi. Saya enggak ini. Pak Kiai kok nyuri kambing saya. Itu kata-katanya. Kata pesantrennya apa santri? Ya kan walillahi ma bis samawati wal ardh. Jadi boleh saja saya memakai nyuri kambing untuk saya potong. Pak Kiainya nggak mau kalah. Kiai itu kan selalu menang di mana-mana. Kayak pendeta, selalu menang di mana. Itu ayat itu hanya untuk ayam, bukan untuk kambing. Jadi nggak mau kalah. Itu artinya ayat itu bisa dibelak-belakkan sesuai dengan kemauan membaca. Religion apapun maka bisa menjadi sumber konflik, sumber demokrasi, tapi juga menjadi sumber kekerasan dan sumber untuk melawan demokrasi. Sampai UPIN, IPIN, lulus kuliah pun, itu agama selalu menjadi kontras. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ada beberapa poin yang sangat menarik ya ternyata kalau berdasarkan Prof. Sumanto tadi bahwa ada beberapa hal yang tentunya mempengaruhi bagaimana hubungan antara religion dan juga demokrasi. Yang pertama tentunya adanya sekularisme dan modernisasi yang hari ini kita rasakan juga bahwa orang tidak terlalu menganggap agama itu penting. Jadi secara grafik menurun gitu ya. Okay, now we still have several minutes for question and answers. Maybe if you want to have any question, if you want to ask, please raise your hand. I want to give like one person from the right side, in the middle, and then on the left side. So yes, please, ya masnya, and then the one who wear a Paramadina jacket, and from the right side.
My name is Hafiz Arfaidistira. I'm from major of international relation here at Paramadina. I just want to make a question to Professor Gregg Barton. Why far-right populism right now is very influenced in the Western countries? I hope this doesn't affect in Indonesia also. And is it true that the far-right populism is like the extreme version of the chauvinism and nationalism? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Introduce myself a little bit. My name is Bram. I'm from philosophy and religion major. Yeah. I want to ask just a question, and I want to deliver it to Professor Gregg Benjamin Gregg. Can we
Gregg
deliver?
Barton, right?
No,
Professor Gregg Barton.
Benjamin Gregg.
Oh, Benjamin. Okay.
Okay. So, and also can I address for two people?
Sure.
Okay, and also Bu is because. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong but Indonesia is one of the third world countries that mostly use extractive industry to build our economy. It answers why we are often listed as the top 10 exports of raw materials or unprocessed commodities worldwide, rather than finished goods dibanding bahan jadi gitu. It's why it's very difficult to cope with its problem, leading to deforestations, agrarian conflicts even, or and so on. So how can we solve this problem? Maybe changing it to the higher developed sectors, or I don't know. But it's quite dilemmatic since we are the top exports in the world in extractive sectors. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last one. Okay, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Deakin from psychology student of Paramadina University. My question is posed to Prof. Barton, Prof. George Barton, as a speaker of democracy, and also I'm looking for some perspective from outsider of Indonesia. But first, I want to explain about the context of my question. From everything that has been presented today, I realized that today, Indonesia seems to be selling the future twice. First, through the environmental exploitation that damage future generation, and the second by allowing its demographic bonus to grow without critical thinking, literacy, and readiness to face global challenge. Ironically, on the international stage, we want to appear as a leader of global south, but our diplomatic capacity is fragile. Our commitment to human rights and democracy is questionable, while our economy and investment remain shackled to the extractive model. So, in your opinion, is Indonesia truly building a future or merely postponing a crisis by selling off its natural resources and neglecting its people? And how can a nation be considered sovereign if its demographic defended, democracy and diplomacy are not directed toward liberation, but rather toward prolonging dependence of the extractive economic and elite politics? Realistically speaking, what is your perspective on this, and what should we, as a younger generation, demand from our government regarding this issue? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll answer both questions together, if that's okay. So the first question, I think it's a really important question to understand. If you haven't been paying attention to this, it really is important to pay attention. There are social scientists who look at the rise of fascist authoritarianism in Europe in the 1930s, and they say that there are really worrying parallels with what's happening at the moment. So it's not to say that history is exactly the same as it was 100 years ago, but we do need to pay attention. I mentioned in the presentation that Stephen Miller, the theorist behind Trump's immigration custom enforcement raids, is fascist in his philosophy. There's not time to explain what I mean, but it's a very clear, well-rounded position that he takes. But just to round this out, people like him, Trump is not a great ideologue, but he goes along with this. People like him are channeling a couple of elements that are not going to come directly to Indonesia, but may have other manifestations. One is Christian nationalism, which tries to turn Christianity into a way of supercharging an American nationalism in a very narrow way that persecutes a lot of people. And the second is white supremacism. They're both related. So white supremacism obviously says that white Christian Americans are being replaced by others. So there's a lot of nastiness that goes with that. But it's not unique to the American context. Critics of Modi's government in India would say that the more extreme elements in the BJP are extremism that demonizes non-Hindus. So, I mean, you can debate that back and forth, but I think there's a lot of truth in that. We've seen Myanmar, and that is very much, although most Burmese monks don't support this, some of them, like Wiratu, have supercharged Islamophobia and persecuted the Rohingya with false views of history. These approaches are summed up by a concept you'll hear a lot about if you follow this, called the Great Replacement Thesis. Albert Camus wrote that they are trying to replace us. He was talking in France of people from Maghreb, from North Africa, Muslims, but it's being used in America of Muslims, but also of Hispanics. ICE is going after Hispanics, particularly at the moment. With the Rohingya case is a very simple case of great replacement. It's taken real traction in America. At an election in Australia in May, it was tried, but it failed. But there have been popular rallies. There was a popular rally a couple of weeks ago in Australian cities. There was this big rally in British cities I mentioned. People turn up not necessarily understanding these ideas, but they're saying the government is not listening to us. So there's a danger in every democracy that if people, the government, and in Indonesia at the moment, there's a real danger that young people, university graduates, feel that it's hard to get work, youth unemployment is high, and getting meaningful employment is hard. So you see things like Kabo Aju Dulu, right? This concept that we just go somewhere else. We need to pay attention to this because it will be exploited by religious actors. Many of the people who voted for Trump really believed he was a good guy. Some are now disappointed, some are confused, but the point is not what people's intentions were, it's how it gets exploited by political actors. With coming to the second, just remind me again your question. Can you just restate your question, sorry?
So basically I'm asking about, as your perspective from outsider, okay, what we have to demand from our governments about our issue and conditional in democracy right now as a younger democracy student.
Yeah, and you mentioned extractive industries, oligarchs, and the demographic dividend. One of the big transformations that's occurring in the world right now is population collapse, which seems strange, but Indonesia with 285 million people is not going to get much bigger. It will get to maybe 300 million, that's it. China is shrinking rapidly. It has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. The same is true for South Korea, for Japan. It's now being felt in Thailand. So this is coming to Indonesia as well. We don't need to panic, but we need to recognise that the generation of Indonesian youth today, this is a unique opportunity for education and transformation. And as you suggest, if we don't seize the opportunity, Indonesia won't have the foundation to build on in future. This is a unique moment. Similarly, rainforests that are taken away will not come back. Rainforests don't grow back. You can grow some forests, but not rainforests, right? And we heard from Professor Gregg that Indonesia has the third largest stock of rainforests in the world. We do need to speak up. I mean, when I say we, I'm not an Indonesian citizen, but as citizens voting, this is an important part of democracy, I would argue. Make your voice heard and say, we're concerned about our environment. We don't want to lose it. Once we lose the rainforest, it's not coming back. It's a precious commodity. It has great potential, not just for things like pharmaceuticals or envirotourism, but it's actually worth much more as it is, including to the planet in processing carbon dioxide and keeping the planet, relatively safer than it is by being turned into palm oil plantations or mined for coal or whatever. Indonesia has a problem with greedy oligarchs, but so does Australia. Australia exports most of its natural gas without charging royalties or tax because of international companies that have managed to get away with both conservative and progressive governments giving them the gas free, which then contributes to global warming. So it's a problem around the world. What I was describing with America is a problem with oligarchs in the Silicon Valley particularly, who see an opportunity to exploit a weak president, people like Elon Musk, but the people behind him like Peter Thiel. So this is a global challenge, but in Indonesia, for democracy to work, we have to be active, we have to be engaged, and we have to be effective in our communication. So young people have this superpower of communicating effectively. Some older people try things like TikTok and it can work for a while, but if they don't maintain it, then they will be seen through. So think about creative campaigns to say, this is important, we care about it as our future. Because yes, we can blame the oligarchs, we can blame politicians, but whether Indonesia is better in 10 years' time or not depends on you guys.
Yeah, a little bit comment about Pak Gregg, but talking about supercharging in Islamophobia, and after that white supremacy, and the case of immigration ICE is more related to what is the development in the United States. Currently, I think Donald Trump's make us very busy because they are not individual as himself, but he is president of the United States, and then it becomes a more agile for other countries such as China or Russia and others, North Korea and so on and so forth. So it is also interesting for me from this current situations, and then we also thinking about what is happening with the Indonesia, because when we talk about democracy, and I still remember about Kamu Raja dulu, as you mentioned before, and then still thinking about Indonesia Gelap, for example, and talking about the others that develop in Indonesia currently. And we also made with the riot that just happens in maybe 1 month ago. Then, yeah, we talk about the regression, of course, of the characterized by this kind of awakening of democratic institution, and talking about global South situation of Indonesia, that Jakarta is shrinking, maybe 7 centimeters great, 7 centimeter for year. That is a very interesting situation, that what we can also thinking about the situation in the evolving and develop from the orientation of Indonesia today. So for me, it's rather democratic. It becomes more interesting for Indonesia. Is it Indonesia become declining in democracy? But I do agree with the presenter, Professor Gregg, that Indonesia in between democracy and authoritarianism. That is my thinking. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we discuss different topic here. We talk about Islamophobia, so that means we refer to the Western countries. There are many people, when I say Western countries, meaning it could be United States or Canada or maybe European countries. But if we talk about Indonesia, it's not only Islamophobia. We talk about Christianophobia, we talk about Judeophobia, and so on and so forth. So I would say, for the sake of democracy in the next future, I think this should be a challenge by more interaction, engagement between different people. I'm now finishing a book manuscript with Springer, which is actually about the polemics of anti-Semitism and philo-Semitism in Indonesia. We look at different angle and perspective from colonial, from state perspective on anti-Semitism and philo-Semitism, Christian perspective, Muslim perspective, literature perspective, and so on and so forth. I think we need to address all of this issue. It's not only about Islamophobia, but also Christianophobia, Judeophobia, Buddhistophobia, and so on and so forth. It's really a big problem for us. It's not only a problem with the Western countries, also with non-Western countries. And for the democracy in the future, I think we have to struggle to challenge about this issue.
Okay, then I will give the, okay. Yeah, to Bu Iin, please, Prof. Iin.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So you are interested in concerning extraction industry. Yeah, as you raised question just now. It is very important for me, at least to highlight once more concerning sustainable consumption activity. This can be done only by the supporting aspects, macro, and then also meso, and then also micro. For macro side, at least you have mentioned just now concerning the extraction industry. Well, Indonesia has already formulated the framework of standard of consumption, a sustainable consumption and production framework. It is also focused starting from 2013 until 2030. One of the framework, it is also highlighting concerning green industry standard. Exactly that there are so many standards have already been formulated there. But maybe in the field, for example, if there is also a break rule concerning the system, some economic players or business players do not pay attention to that system. Exactly that it is already formulated well, but at least maybe it is very important for the government to educate, to socialize concerning that system. Yeah, and it is very important for us, for example, as a student, we can also avoid something that is not related to waste management, or we focus on waste management system. And it is also analyzed in study. For example, when you are in a management program, we also study in sustainability, at least concerning the role of the government is also discussed there. Thank you.
As we conclude this international conference on democracy, prosperity, sustainability, and peace, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all participants, speakers, and organizers who have contributed to its success. So thank you very much for all the speakers, and please, we have like a photo session together.
Yes, thank you so much. As a token of appreciations, the committee and also Universitas Paramadina would like to deliver souvenirs. So I would like to invite Ibu Vice Rector and also Bapak Sunaryo to give souvenir to our distinguished speakers. Please welcome. Please come up to the front. All the keynote speakers, we really appreciate our information and knowledge that you share. There's also one more. There's one more. Yes. Yeah. Will be delivered by Bapak Dr. Sunaryo. Yes. To Bapak Mayjen TNI Dr. Oktaheroe Ramsi from the Republic of Indonesia Defense University. Thank you. Delivered to Bapak Sumanto Al-Qurtuby from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. Okay, before we continue, we would like to have a official group photo. So please, we will take 2 photos, I think. Yes. One more on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now concluded the main panel session. We invite you to take a break because we still have another sessions at the classrooms. We invite you to take a break and enjoy the refreshments that have been prepared as served at the registration desk. So you can go there to take some refreshment. We look forward to see you back at 1 p.m. Thank you so much for your attention. And for the closing session, I would like to deliver a pantun again, if I may. When I finish one sentence, a long sentence, please join me shouting loudly together, "Cakep." Okay? All right. Enjoy your lunch. The food is nice. Have some drinks, maybe with ice. Take a break, then join one more, because this conference will bring new knowledge to explore. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.